Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSperts. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christensen, and joining me, as always, from his bar that I guess he owns. How's it going, Andy?
Oh my God, dude. I sold a business a few years ago, and my business partner, we looked at buying a bar, and it was kind of an ongoing process. We talked to the owner a few times. Essentially, it was kind of coming to a head around this time last year where we were kind of halfway serious about it. I can't imagine if I would have bought a fucking bar right before a global pandemic. That would have been really classic Andy F up. But no, I didn't. Instead, I said, let's just talk betting for the rest of my life because I enjoy this more. And I'm not that good at making mixed drinks anyway. I usually just put whiskey and ice in the glass. Having a pretty good Monday, all things considered. Some really fun football games. When we saw some of the action, it didn't look like it was going to be that exciting. There was a moment there where it looked like the Browns were just toast. The fact that game was exciting at the end, until the pick six, the Ravens game was very tight. We had a tie game in the second half in the Saints game before Breeze just completely gave that one away. And I don't remember much about the Packers game. I don't suppose that was really in the balance all that much.
That's pretty straightforward. The Packers came out, took an early lead and held on to it.
But I think, and somebody said this, once the Rams had lost, and really it didn't matter if it was Buffalo or Baltimore out of that second game. But once those two games had occurred and we had Green Bay and Buffalo in the Final Four, maybe it was just Drew. He said, I don't think we can have bad matchups now. Even if you have the Browns upset, it's a fun enough offense, a bad enough defense, a good enough team that these Final Four matchups should be good. So it'll be exciting. It'll be exciting to have a Saturday off. My wife has a massive list of shit she wants me to do. So hopefully that's something. Yeah, both games will be on Sunday. I don't have to work on a Saturday this week. That'll be. Although she is getting her second vaccine later in the week, and she's heard some. She's heard not I don't want to say horror stories and spread misinformation, but there's been quite a few people that said the second vaccine gives you some light flu-like symptoms for a couple days. So I'm like, hey, date night Saturday night. Let's do a bunch of stuff Saturday. So not be feeling well because she's getting her second vaccine later in the week. So hopefully that
Netflix and chill.
Yeah, just let's chill and watch some movies, I guess. It'll be cold outside. But yeah, Buffalo KC, obviously not a lot to get into yet because the books are super sketchy about where they're putting that number, kind of implying Mahomes plays, but obviously that makes a big difference. And Green Bay, Tampa Bay, a rematch from earlier in the year. That's a really good one. To another couple, Hall of Fame quarterbacks 2 weeks in a row. Tom Brady taking on the studs of the NFL. So I'm excited for Sunday. 2 great games. And later this week, we'll probably touch on some more prop stuff. I was mentioning to Alex off the air there, I had Lazard as one of my to have the most receiving yards. And I believe he finished just behind. It was Kelsey, Tyreek Hill, and Stephon Diggs. So I guess no shame there being fourth to those, but it would have been awful nice if he'd had one more 15-yard catch to cash that. Otherwise, it's a holiday. Martin Luther King Day. Big slate of NBA. I don't know if you want to go through all of the games, but there's definitely some to touch on.
There are, and before I get into some of my picks, it's Martin Luther King Day, of course. This is a big day for the NBA. They do a lot of tributes throughout the day in all the different arenas, and they play games starting at noon. So one of the angles that you have to remember for days like this is try to stay away from overs, especially in some of these early games. The Knicks and Magic are playing at noon. Again, noon. That's about 7 hours earlier than they're used to playing. I mean, you've got these guys, they're playing at much different times. All of their biorhythms are going to be really thrown off, and we see it year in and year out. First half unders are pretty nice today. I haven't gotten a chance to really go through, I think, the value in kind of that first game. Orlando, New York has kind of been sucked out from an under perspective, and I might even talk myself into a live second half over. But stick to your unders today as you're starting to look at some of the pregame stuff. Again, Minnesota, Atlanta, that's a 2:30 game for Atlanta. That's a 1:30 game for Minnesota. Again, when you look at kind of their normal time zone. San Antonio, Portland, again, that's 3 p.m. Eastern, but that's noon for those guys effectively for their time zone. I mean, noon for Portland, that'll be 1 in the afternoon for San Antonio. Detroit, Miami is playing at 3. So in those early games, try to stick towards unders, but should be a really fun slate here. I mean, the Orlando, New York game will be a little rough early on, but hopefully some of the young guys from New York will play and we'll get to see. And hopefully our rookie of the year picks, Obi Toppin and Cole Anthony, score a lot of points. But let's get into some actual games where I see some value in some of the numbers. We'll start with Phoenix versus Memphis. I grabbed the under here actually at 223 last night. It's down to 222. Make sure you follow me on the BetSperts app, Alex Christensen with no space there, so you can get all this stuff. I generally try to grab a lot of these numbers the night before because as you've seen, I mean, in the NBA, these things move pretty quickly. But as I start to look at the matchup here, two teams have been playing very slowly. Yes, I know John Morant is back, and I think maybe there's probably a little too much of an adjustment there towards the over, and probably while we're getting some value here. I make this game about 216, so under 222 is pretty good. Under 221 is probably okay, and that's probably where I draw the line. Again, I'm trying to play a little bigger edge here because we do have the uncertainty of Morant being back, but Phoenix and Memphis, two teams that play at slow paces. Phoenix has been a fantastic under team this year, so actually both of these have been pretty solid under teams this year. So happy to jump on board here with an under 222. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, it's like Christmas Day unders. It's a thing. And it's not just a thing because it's like Christmas or some weird, it's the fact that it's a holiday. Some of these games are at weird times. They're playing not only coming off a weekend, heading into a Monday, having to play some of these early games. Or what time was that one again? That's a little later. I think that's a mid-afternoon game.
Yeah, that is one of the later games. So that one we don't quite.
But even the later games are at like 5 Eastern.
Or 5 o'clock, right? So that's still, again, for them, they're playing at 2 or 3 o'clock their time. So still a little bit early there for sure. Next up, we've got a big game tonight. We've got Milwaukee playing against Brooklyn. This will be a lot of fun. Again, as I start to look at my numbers here, I think, again, there's maybe a little overreaction to Harden here. I haven't seen or been able to find an adjustment that makes sense to me to get the total up as high. This actually opened at 240 and came down to 238. I still like 238. I'd actually play this down to 236 and then probably draw the line there. Again, I expect these teams to be offensively very good. I think we're going to see a lot of nice possessions here, but I think it'll be a little slower game. And one of the concepts that we'll start to talk about, it's maybe a little early in the season for this, but I like to talk about what I describe as regular season playoff games. These are two teams that know at some point come in the postseason, they're going to have to beat each other, and they've got each other circled on the schedule. They know they're going to be playing. I mean, coaches tend to put a little more work in these games. You'll see a little more play design, the defensive level and the intensity sort of picks up here. Now, again, it's very early in the season, and in the year of COVID, who knows? So I'm maybe pulling back a little bit on that, but I think this will be the first example of kind of a regular season playoff game under where we see two teams maybe take this a little more seriously than we would expect from a regular season perspective.
Yeah, and this one did open at an eye-popping 1970s number where we have games popping into the 250s, but even at 238, I dig it. Yeah, I can see maybe a little bit of effort here, even in, we've mentioned some of the reasons for the unders, but possibly some defensive effort. We have a pretty good defensive player on the one side here.
Yeah, I've got the total myself in the low 230s here, so showing some value. Again, there could be a scenario in which they just come out and decide to have a track meet here, and we lose this by like 20 points. But I think that today is going to be a nice underfull day, so happy to grab this one, especially when my numbers agree.
Did you bet any overs?
No overs yet. We got one more.
I know what you have.
The Golden State Warriors are playing the Lakers. I actually got the worst of the number here. I grabbed under 224 last night, and it's ticked up all the way to under 226. I'm actually, if this keeps going up, I'll probably be adding a little more to my under position. And what I've tried to do there is when I am adding more, go back for like an adjusted under, try to get something, put like a unit down at like plus 150, whatever total will give you something like that, as opposed to trying to pay the juice again. But again, really like this game from an under perspective. Golden State has started to play better defense with Draymond Green back. I think the pace is starting to slow up for them. The Lakers have been an under team just about all year. Again, both of these teams have been under team. So happy to jump on, kind of follow that trend for them. And again, my numbers here, I make this, 222. So, happy to have this at under 226.
And there is a bunch, a cavalcade of games. I love that word. But any thoughts on any of the other games? I know you didn't put any other positions in, but here's a the Orlando New York game. I mean, are people? Do you think there's already a? Well, I mean, you can't get that number anymore. I mean, it's down to 205, 204 and a half. First off, but secondly, I do wonder about maybe staying away from the early game just because the under is going to get pounded so much off the early game narrative or whatever you want to say. It's like some of these early games in the conference tournaments that are at neutral sites now, sometimes empty gyms. We see some goofy stuff. So yeah, I think a lot of people are just auto betting the Orlando Knicks under, and it's down to 204. What do your numbers make that one?
I've got this one at 210. So I wanted to play it over here, but everything we talked about, it's a noon start on Martin Luther King Day. If you want to try to attack this, I would look at maybe a first half under. I think that's going to be a really nice look, maybe even a first quarter under, play both. These games tend to start very slow. And then if you do like the over, again, what I'm going to try to do is wait and see kind of how the first half goes and then try to grab a live over, maybe a second half over, something like that if the game's close and it looks like they're kind of warming up. So haven't placed a wager there yet, but if I wanted to attack that, I think a first half under or a first quarter under, maybe a little bit on each would be a good way to go.
Yeah, and somebody mentioned, just like it is kind of sleepy how some of those games come out, and I've seen some of those games as you sit and watch. You pull up a live stream of like a game starting at 11 in the morning for like the Big South Conference in the middle of March. It's those games can start sleepy, so it'll be interesting when we get an East Coast game starting at, man, it's 11 my time. That's noon Eastern. That's rough. So college basketball was a real garbage slate today. I don't want to say there's not good games because you got St. John's UConn this afternoon, Florida State Louisville plays later, and obviously a bigger one in the Big 12. But that's not my bag. I did look. I found a couple of games I didn't hate, but nothing quite met the criteria except for my garbage Lobos. The garbage Lobos of New Mexico. They shot, this is and we're going to bring this up. Somebody asked a good question about the zigzag theory or what have you with all these back-to-backs, whether you're having it in college basketball. I know hockey is having that now, so I might ask some people about that, how they feel about things like that. And I think we'll get to that question when we get a little more time to explore it, but this is a instant rematch game in Las Vegas. We have the Lobos taking on UNLV. They lost by like 20 yesterday. They shot 30% from the field or something awful like that. They do have a bad defense, but UNLV doesn't have a good defense either. If they can just shoot normal percentage, like not absolutely come out and suck shit for the entire game, be down by essentially their point spread at halftime, they can hang with them. They've had similarly ranked strength of schedules according to what I'm running, so I don't think this should guy be 12. I have this closer to 8. This is, a lot of people like, hey, would you take a money line on a big? This is not one. This is one where I'm hoping it's like an 8-point game late. They fall a little, it ends up them giving up when it's 9 or 10. So I'm excited for this game because it's the only one I'll probably watch, and it is the late game too. So you have a lot of time to bet this one. It doesn't start till 9:30 Eastern, and that's it for today for college basketball. Also, I kind of would lean to an over in this one too if you do like totals or you want to do something different with it, because like I said, both teams' defenses are pretty bad. It just came down to New Mexico could not make a shot last night. So I'm rolling with my Lobos today.
Did you have any opinion on the LaSalle St. Joe's game? I saw somebody there in the chat likes LaSalle. My Explorers, folks. They not so proud LaSalle alumni. I'm a proud LaSalle alumni, just not proud of the sports program.
I have bet on them this year. I mean, I can quickly look up what I had them. I got my numbers up right here, and there's not that many games to look at today. So I would make LaSalle a small. LaSalle's getting 2 points.
Looks like they're -2.
Laying 2 points. You know how I feel about St. Joe's. I've bet St. Joe's numerous times this year.
Love St. Joseph's.
So, yeah. So
I'm gonna get you a jersey. I'm gonna drive down there. I'll get you one. Have them put Andy on the back. I'll mail it out to you.
Yeah, and likely my St. Joe's number is gacked because I've been betting them and not winning with them. So I make it closer to a pick. LaSalle minus point, half point. Nothing I want to get involved with from an edge standpoint. So I disagree with you, but like I said, my St. Joe's number might be just shit this year. So I wish you luck with your Explorers. And yeah, it's It'll be an interesting game because I think that's an afternoon game. And we are
Yep.
blessed with a bunch of afternoon games today. Nothing
It's a
great,
great day
but
for
like I
sports.
said, St. John's, Connecticut, Sacramento State. If they're going to get 2 again here, I almost don't hate taking that again. They got lucky. I cannot believe I cashed a 2-point underdog in overtime who lost. Like essentially, they did take a lead late and then ended up fouling, losing on some late free throws. But I feel like they should have won. But it was nice to not get screwed over in overtime. I believe they were down by 4 or 5 in overtime. So thank goodness for small miracles here and there. I needed that after a little bad late game luck with the other game yesterday. Is that it for sports? Just basketball today, or what are we doing?
We have the world's greatest betting sport, tennis. Now, it's not an ATP tournament. It's not a WTA tournament, similar to maybe like baseball, where you have Major League Baseball, then AAA, AA. Tennis has multiple levels of tournaments. You have the ATP, and then underneath that for the men is what's called Challenger. And these actually end up being really fun tournaments. What you have is a lot of younger players that are kind of upcoming, and you get to watch them develop and become into better pros. You also get some of the older pros, frankly, looking to play kind of local events just to keep playing a little bit of tennis, steal some points. Right, exactly. So we've got a tournament this week in Istanbul. Now, depending on where you live, most of this is happening early in the morning if you're on the East Coast, or very, very late at night if you're on the West Coast. We've got some tennis matches, and there was one that stuck out to me. This is a pretty fun name match. Benjamin Bonzi, I like him, -110 against Blaz Rolla. 2 players that, again, I'm sure there's not a huge tennis audience in here, but Bonzi, a younger player, starting to really put it together. This is maybe a little step up in competition for him when you start to look at the rankings, but put together some really nice results last year. As I start to look at some of my numbers, I really like this price, and Andy and I are smiling. Thank you, Patrick P., for making the joke. It is indeed Istanbul and not, in fact, Constantinople. Not Constantinople, but Istanbul. Anyway, I like Bonzi here, -110. I think we're getting a nice number as I start to look at some of my data and his more recent results. So I make him a little closer, like -150 here. So I play -110, maybe even as far out as -120.
Yeah, it's Brett F says it's sad. I know both of these guys. Yeah, if you bet enough tennis, you really do get to know the Challenger Tour. It's similar to any other sport where you see people maybe having a lot of success betting NBA props, while the NBA market can be awful tough. Same thing, I would say the Challenger Tour is akin to betting prop markets in a major market, where it's a little softer numbers. I think people have a better shot at making finding some edges there. I've seen some people do really well in Challenger, ITF, and lower level tennis. So it's something to, if you are getting into tennis, I've seen this numerous times from numerous people telling you, if you're going to start modeling, if you're going to start building out some pricing, why not start in a smaller market instead of like, I'm going to beat the NFL, or I'm going to beat the English Premier League with my very first model. So, I mean, it's not you build a light ELO model for challenger level tennis and start putting some prices on these guys, look at how the market reacts, look at how your results are going, make some adjustments and see what you can do. Also, I pulled up Flash Score to see what time this starts, and it literally says every single match starts at 1 a.m. So who knows? It's listed lower, so there's really no telling this match is starting after midnight, but I don't know when. This could be going when we're on our show tomorrow. Like this match could start at 5, 6 in the morning. Who knows?
Yeah, this will be a tough week in terms of trying to give you guys a good estimate of when they're playing. They're actually playing right now, and basically events don't put out the next day's order of play until the current day's matches are finished. So what they'll do is, like you said, Andy, you pull a Flash Score, 1 a.m. your time, 2 a.m. Eastern basically is when the first match is going to be. So it could be as early as 2 a.m. Eastern. It could be as late as probably 10 a.m. Eastern. So, keep an eye out for that. You have plenty of time to get that in, though. But that's kind of the beauty of tennis, folks. It's always there.
It is. It's called Euro time. I actually live on UTC. I'm on the space station time, where it's always the same time. Time zones are antiquated, should be gone away with, but that's probably a conversation for a different day. Like I said, a lot more stuff we'll get into this week. It should be a fun week. We have a good listener question we'll dig into. Maybe get into some hockey. We'll surely get into some golf. I'll have my one and done pick. I did 2 one and dones, and they both made the cut. So it's not like a great start. They didn't win the tournament, but I didn't have 0 bombs for the week. So I'm excited. Another one starts this week, and maybe even some UFC later in the week. We kind of got a big fight this weekend.
Yeah, that McGregor guy, people like him.
People are a fan of him.
He sells that whiskey. It's good to know he's fighting too.
I've heard that whiskey's pretty awful. So summing it up, Phoenix, Memphis under, Milwaukee, Brooklyn under, Golden State, Los Angeles under, underfull, Holiday Monday, New Mexico plus 12. I'm sure that number's still there. I don't think there's going to be some strong hunger for betting New Mexico. I'm checking right now. I don't think it's going to get blasted or anything. It's a night game. Yeah, there's still 12s available. And Benjamin Bonsai. Is it Bonsai or Bonzi?
I would say Bonzi. It might be Bonsai. I don't know.
That's the other problem about Challenger tennis. So. Even when you can get a stream, oftentimes there's no announcers. So it's not like you can hear the announcer say the name. And even if there were, they probably wouldn't have a great hold on it. So
that is what a good thing to mention. You can stream these matches through the Challenger website. If you search ATP Challenger and click on the tournament, they're streaming matches for free there. So this is actually one of the best ways to watch tennis because you can watch it.
All right, that'll do us for today. I tweeted this out last week. I actually just retweeted the BetSports account, but we are on a time crunch for the hoodie because we want to just stop and get them ordered. So if you haven't already, still sign up for a WinBet account, get your hoodie, get signed up, send us a thing, get your free bet. I'll send you that out. So 3 more days on that, and then I'm going to cut off the hoodies because I have to get them printed, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Andy. Have a great day, everybody.